if you can hear me speaking on the video, could you type yes in the chat bar, please? Hi, whoever's there watching. This is my test video, testing out my live stream sound and picture quality. So if you can hear me, and if you can hear me, could you type yes in the chat bar? That would be really good. And then I just want to tell you about a little free course that you can hop onto today on my academy. Hi there, if you just logged on to watch this test live stream, I'm Alison Fennell, the potter and artist, and if you can hear me, would you be so kind as to type yes in the live chat so that I know that you've got sound? Thanks. So what I'm going to show you now is a little bit about this free course, which is on my Painting Academy. It's a lovely little course. It'll only take you probably about an hour or so to do, and it's totally free. All you need to do is click the link that's in the description of this video, and it'll take you to the sign up for my newsletter. And then when you sign up for the newsletter, you'll automatically be taken to enroll on my academy, and you can have a go of try and paint spheres in watercolour, and I'll take you through the steps really slowly so that you'll get it, and this will give you a good idea of what watercolour's like, okay, and it'll give you skills that you can use in doing this simple thing of painting a shiny sphere, as well as then moving on to other things like painting any spherical shape like a grape or a lemon or a cherry, things like that, and you'll have those skills, and I hope it'll encourage you to maybe take further steps and try out my longer courses that I've got on my academy as well. So hello to the 3 people who are watching at the moment. If you can hear me, can you type in yes in the live chat box so that I know that my sound is coming through okay? Alright, so what I'm going to do today as well is talk to you a little bit about softening an edge in watercolour. So I'm just going to bring my palette onto the screen there to show you my lovely palette. And let's pick up some green, okay? So I'm going to pick up some sap green, and I'll show you how to soften an edge now in watercolour, because handling edges in watercolour is one of the tricky things to do. So let's go back to my watercolour pad here, and I'm just going to paint an area of green. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit more. Hello to the 5 people who are watching. If you can hear me, could you type in yes in the live chat? Then I know that you're getting sound, okay? So we'll paint an area like that. Then I'm going to rinse my brush really well in my jug of clear water. Really rinse it very well like that. Okay? And then I'm going to flick my brush really well. Then start painting a little way away, and then move up towards the edge of that green shape that I want to soften, and then let the colour bleed out. So I've got a nice soft edge there then, okay? Then the other thing that you can do is using a flat brush, you moisten that in a pot of water really well, and again press it in, moisten it, let all those air bubbles come out, okay? If you can hear me on this video, could you please type in yes in the live chat, please, somebody, so that I know if the volume is coming through. And then you wipe the brush then you straighten it, and then you just press it in, and you can drag out a lovely highlight like that. Okay. Okay, let me just ask people if they can hear me. So, hi, can you hear me? Right, so I'm going to, I've asked people that, now if they can hear me. I'm going to carry on showing you things that you can do with this thirsty brush. So it's a brush that's been moistened, then dried in a cloth really well, like that, and then you can cut out, lift out colour right back to the white of the paper. So that's a really useful skill to have. Okay. Then another example of using wet into wet watercolour. Let's wet an area of the paper first. So I'm just using clear water. I'm going to wet the area with water. And then I'm going to show you, can you see there's, where is it? There, that shine. See, the water's got a shine on it. Let's make the area a little bit bigger. Right, so I've moistened that now. Okay, there's a moist area there. And now if we paint some colour into it, we're going to get a nice soft edge. Okay, I think I'm just going to alter my sound because I don't think the sound is coming through. So just bear with me while I do that. If you can hear me, do let me know. Okay, so the Yeti, it's too high. Okay, so let me just go into my settings a second. Right, so settings, audio, Yeti Nano. Okay, can you hear me now? If you can hear me, please type yes into the chat box if you can hear me now. That would be really good to know. Hi, if you can hear me now, can you tell me in the chat box if my voice is coming through? So, hi Randy Halverson. Thanks for letting me know you can hear me. That's really great. Okay, I'm just doing this as a test. This is I'm not brilliant at this YouTube thing, so I'm just doing this as a little test to see what my image is looking like, and what the sound is looking like as well. So let me just go back to these test practice pieces that I want to show you. Okay, so Randy, are you a beginner watercolourist? Have you ever painted before? Right, so I'm just going to paint in some colour there, and then I'm going to soften part of the edge, and I start painting a little way away from my hard edge, which is here, and I go up and down and up and down, so I'm painting a moist area for the paint to go into, and then I'm going to gradually work into that lovely scarlet area and then stop painting, and now the paint is bleeding out and giving me a lovely soft edge. Okay, so you've been painting for 3 years since you retired. That's fantastic. So how are you getting along? What's your watercolour experience so far, Randy? Can you tell us a bit about that? Okay, so while I'm sort of showing you about these hard and soft edges, this, I want to tell you, is wet into wet. Okay, so the paper is wet and the paint we put on is wet, so wet into wet. Now if I pick up some paint and just picks up some paint now. Okay, and add some water. This is just going to be wet paint on dry paper. So this is wet on dry. Okay, so this is another way of applying the paint. So that's wet on dry. Okay, then we've got softening an edge. Alright. Oh, hi Jenny, thanks for that. I'm glad you can hear me now. That's good to connect with you. Lovely, Randy, to hear yeah, you're going to get lots of practice since we're all locked down because of the virus. Yes, so can everybody hear me okay? That's really good. Right, so I just wanted to show you some of these techniques now. So this is lifting out colour with a thirsty brush. Okay, and then this is blending colour. Yes, Randy, YouTube's got loads of great videos on, hasn't it? And I've always watched YouTube to give me help on lots of things, not just on art, but anything I'm stuck with, I usually find an answer on YouTube. So I'm glad it's helping you, and glad that your family are supporting you as well, because that's important, isn't it? If you've got your family behind you when you're starting a new skill, that's really good. Have you got a place set up where you've got all your gear, laid out? Have you got that? I'm just going to have a little sip of tea, everybody. My mouth's a little bit dry after all this talking. Right, so what else am I going to show you now? Okay, as I mentioned earlier to some people who are watching, for those of you who are watching now, I've got a free course. It's absolutely less than an hour, but it'll give you a good way of dipping your toe into painting watercolour, and it's over on my lovely Watercolour Academy called the Potter and Artist Academy. In the link in the description of this video, if you have a look, if you scroll down and see in the text description, are lots of links, and one of them is called Learn to Paint Watercolour, Just Dip Your Toe In, Paint Shiny Spheres in Watercolour. And all you got to do to access this free 1 hour course is you click the link. The link will ask you to sign up for my tri-weekly newsletter, and then once you click that, you'll be taken to another link, and that will access you the course straight away today. So if you fancy doing that, Jenny and Randy and whoever else is watching, you can access that, and it's a lovely little introduction into watercolour. Nothing too heavy, but it will hopefully give you a taster of what watercolour is like. It's a gorgeous medium. You know, I've been painting for 25 years now, and it holds my attention very well. It's a really lovely medium. So if I can just talk to you about paints and some paint tubes and things when you're starting off. Oh, that's great, Randy, that you've got a lovely studio with light. It becomes a guest bedroom, right? Okay, so you do chop over when you've got the grandkids coming, but great that you've got a nice light work area. So how about you, Jenny? Have you got your own setup there for watercolour that you can leave your paints out and your painting area out? Because that's a really big help, you know, when you're starting off in watercolours, to have your own studio, isn't it? So what I would say to you beginners, I'd say, I know they appear to be very expensive, but if you can get the artist quality professional grade tubes or pans. Pans are the little squares, those little blocks that you can find, you know. Buy the artist quality ones, because even if you only have like 6 tubes of artist quality paint, you're going to be able to mix lots of colours that you don't need to buy then. I'd rather you buy professional artist quality paints than buy like 24 student grade paints, because the quality and the the activity of the paints isn't that good, and the vibrancy isn't very good, and they don't react in the same way. All right, so I would always get I'd always get artist quality paint. Okay, so that's great, Jenny. So you've got a dormer space in your attic. But that's actually where I am today. Is I am in my dormer. I'm in my attic painting today, and it is nice to have nice light. So what I'm going to show all of you that are watching now is I'm going to apply a glaze of colour onto a painting that I've already done before, and just to show you the effect, you know, of painting on top of a dry watercolour. If you apply it very gently and very lightly and very quickly like this, you can, you know, paint on top of a watercolour that has been dried. Okay, so now that's added another sort of base, isn't it? Another base of colour on top of that. Let's rinse my brush, and I'm going to then add a glaze of colour. I'm going to warm this area up. I know it's red already, but I'm going to warm it up with a lovely glaze of warm yellow, to show you again how you can add colour to a pre-painted watercolour, and that it won't disturb the wash that's already the colours that are already on there, that are already dried. So you can, you know, rework a watercolour if you want to warm it up. So that's my puddle of yellow that I'm going to mix on here. Okay, so let's warm this area up now. So I'm just going to glaze this yellow, fill up, glaze this yellow over the whole front foreground, the red foreground of this sort of abstract woodland scene, by adding a glaze of warm yellow. And so don't be afraid to do this if you're a beginner. You know, you can lay on another wash as long as the previous wash is bone dry. That's the secret. Okay, it must be bone dry. And I'm actually going to go up into the trees as well and warm these foreground trees up with this extra wash of yellow. Okay, to bring these, some of the bigger trees, the larger trees forward, because obviously they want to come forward because they're the yellow ones. Okay, and then what we can do is push some of the thinner ones back with a cool blue wash. So I'm going to go for a smaller brush, rinse my brush, pick up some cool, a nice cool blue. What will we have? Well, I tell you what, Windsor blue is a very cool blue. So we'll add a glaze of that and push some of those narrower trees more into the background with that glaze there. Maybe this one, push that one back. Just glaze them back with that blue. That makes them recede and diminishes their importance. Let's take them back a bit. I'm just loading up with that blue again. And there. Okay, so we've changed the sort of power of those trees a little bit there. So a good thing to do is to get used to things that your brush can do, you know, like sort of stippling and stamping and things like that. So I'm going to take this brush now, mix it in to this lovely hot orangey yellow that I've got, and some red, and just make some marks. Sure. So with this little flat quarter-inch brush, you know, you can do little stippling marks like that. You can do a drag and twist and drag, because a lot of people buy, you know, lots of expensive brushes, and you don't really need to. You can use, you know, you can use your own brush you can do little sort of stippling marks like that by just fanning the brush out. So don't be afraid to sort of move your brush around in different ways and see what it gives you. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is paint a very simple sky. So I need to get a clean piece of paper here now. Okay, let me just rub that out and zoom out a little bit. Okay, I'm going to leave that in the middle so that you can see it a bit better. Okay, so let's have a look. So to give a nice clear sky, I'm going to be wetting this whole area with clear water. So just wetting this whole area here. Let's see if we can just do a nice moody sky. And the reason I'm moistening this is so that when I put my sky wash in, I'll have soft edges initially. Okay, so I'm moistening that. And I just want that to soak in a little bit. So let me show you. You can see that shine there, can't you? Alright, so some shine there. So I'm just going to pick up some. First of all, I'm going to actually wipe my palette down because I've got too many colours on the go there, not enough mixing space. So I'll just clear that off a little bit. Just clean that down so I can get my sky mixes in there nicely without contaminating anything else. Okay. Right, so for a sky mix, I'm going to use my 1/2" flat brush. And let's pick up some French ultramarine blue. It's a good general sky colour. And then I'm going to sort of just knock it back a little bit with a touch of burnt umber. Okay, so that just makes it a little bit more of a sort of realistic blue, not such a straight out of the tube blue. And I'm going to put that on and make some just sky shapes there. Sky shapes. And then into that I could press a piece of tissue and just block out some really firm, hard white shapes. It's cloud shapes there. Because wherever I press this tissue, the paint will not go. Okay, so I'm making some obstacles for the sky colour. Right, let's go straight back in and mix some stronger blue and some stronger brown to make it more of a more moody colour. Alright, so let's be bold and push this in on top now, and maybe a little underneath there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is be very bold and get my spray bottle and just spray the sky, and let's just let it all run. Let it run and just see what it does. This is a nice way of just loosening up, you know, before you start a watercolour session. Just get some loose sky practice in. You see, and it's changing, but you must give it time to just have its head. Let the paint run where it wants to, and then maybe come in with your flat brush, add a little bit more to the base of the sky. I'm going to cut that cloud up because it's a little bit similar in size and shape to the other two. I'm just going to add some sort of border there. Hi Francoise, How are you? From Athens in Georgia. Glad to see you as well. I've just got on here by the skin of my teeth, Francoise. I don't know how I've managed it, but here I am, and it's lovely to hook up with you. How are things today? Right, I want to create some more cloud shapes now. So back in with my piece of tissue. If you can see it, I'll just show you a bit more closely. Let's reform some of these clouds now. I want to have one very big cloud and some smaller ones, and then by twisting my tissue, I'm going to cut in and have some very narrow ones, you know, sort of nearer as the horizon as they go down. Let's have some bigger blue ones up there. Right, into this sky I fancy dropping some cerulean blue or something like that. Let's go for some turquoisey blue and a bit of Windsor blue, maybe a bit of lavender. Oh, that's it. That's a nice colour. Let's mix that in there and drop a bit of that in as well. So we've got some paler blue coming. Are you making masks, Francoise? Well done. Yes, that's a very good thing to be doing. Are you making them for yourself or for a local cause, for a local medical place, are you? Okay, so there's my sky coming a little bit now. I bet it is nice to take a break from making masks. I wear my mask when I go outside to the shops, and when I come back up my hill wearing a mask, it's quite, I get a bit of a panic attack because it's horrible wearing a mask. So those poor doctors and nurses must be so stressed, you know, wearing those masks all the time that they're in work. Must be very hard for them. It must be quite claustrophobic, I think, mustn't it? Okay, so now in my cloud shape, I want the hardest edges to be the edges at the top of the cloud. So I'm going to press in my tissue to make those very hard, right? Let's make that one a bit more. Okay. Also, you're making them family and friends. Well, that's really great, because I know they are in short supply. Strange times we're living in, isn't it? Okay, so there's our cloud shapes there now. I fancy going a tiny bit greyer in the base of some of these clouds, so I'm going to pick up a bit of grey, which is made from blue and a little bit of burnt umber. So a tiny bit of blue and a tiny bit of burnt umber. Let's have some bluey grey in the base now of some of the white clouds. Okay, so we're going to add a bit of, body, to the inside of these white clouds. And as I put the body, the shadow colours in, I got a moist brush to, let me just turn that off. That's a bit better. Soften that in. So I'm using a moist brush to soften that muddied base of the cloud in, so that it has a softer edge at the bottom, and it gets soft as I put the details in the cloud. Let's have a little bit of it in this one as well. A little bit of body in this cloud. Okay. Right, just soften that up as well. So I put some grey in the bottom area of the cloud, and with my moist brush, which has been moistened and flicked. That's the important thing if you're a beginner artist. Flick it out really hard, right? So that you've only got a tiny bit of moisture in that brush, and then when you soften away, you've got blending power. And softening in watercolour, as you probably know, is the hardest thing to do. It's really hard. Okay, so I'm just going to blend that a little bit more there. Right, how about we have some much streakier, stronger bits of blue breaking through the cloud now. So I'm going to put some pure paler blue, promise of better weather to come in this lower sort of, in these stratified areas of the bottom of the sky, like that. Okay, and again I'm going to blend that off a little bit. So this is a big blustery blousy sky. I like the way that the sky is bleeding, the blue is bleeding up there. I think that's quite nice, isn't it? So I think with the sky it's nice to put some shapes on and then let them go. And I think I'm just going to be bold again with my water spray, and I'm going to zoom out so I can show you this. Hold it at a slight angle, and then hold your spray away, about 10 inches away, and I'm just going to squirt. Okay, so 1, 2, and then maybe a tighter 1, 3, and let's just hold it at that angle and just let it all run down, and we might get some lovely effects. Well, actually no, look, there's not enough moisture. See if I can show you. There's not, there we are, it's not quite wet enough, so I think I'm going to add some more water again now. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3, right, now we're talking. Now there's some water running in there, and I'm going to tip it back and forth to give me this soft effect, just to loosen some of the streaks that I had at the bottom. And I'm going to help it along. I drag in my brush like that. Let me just pick up this blob before it goes on my other painting underneath. Okay, so that's how. Now can you see there's a big blob there of dark blue, isn't there? So I'm going to need to repeat that somewhere else because it doesn't look very nice. So I'm just going to repeat that strong blue, which was burnt umber and French ultramarine blue. Okay, so it's a dark bluish with a bit of brown. I want to just repeat that colour somewhere else so that it doesn't look too out of place. So let's just drop it here, okay, and tie it in with that one, and maybe have a bit of it over there. So let's let that run. Squirt my water, and can you see it's going to travel very slowly along there now. If I tip it a little bit more vertically, it'll travel a bit more quickly. I'll just tip it back this way as well to help share that out. Yes, got nice softness coming now. I think I want to share some of that dark red over there. And that needs to travel here. So let's make that one travel as well. That's it. Don't be afraid to spray on. And now we've got some streaks coming through the clouds themselves as well, which is giving them a sort of like wispy feel, which is quite nice. Let's tip it back. So we've got that sort of idea now. Let's tip it back that way. I'll just show you a bit more close in. Just let that all bed in now. So I'm quite happy with how that's coming. So how about I have a little bit of sort of foreground here now. So I've got burnt umber and some French ultramarine blue, mostly burnt umber, okay, in there. I'm just going to paint some suggestion of land at the base of that. Okay, and then again with my moist brush, which I flicked, I'm going to rinse my brush again and soften that away like that. Okay. Okay, I feel that I've got 3 clouds and they all are a little bit separated. So what I'm going to do is add in now bigger bank of cloud and reclaim those very thin strips of clouds that I had right at the bottom. So I just want to reclaim some of those white strips there in the sky bank, because it's sort of receding, you know, the clouds are receding, and so they're narrower as they reach the horizon and they get bigger as they come up to the top of the painting. So I will in fact make this one quite a bit bigger, because this could take being a bit bigger now. So this is a different size to the other 3. I don't want it to them to look too identical. So I'm just taking that out of there. Okay, so that's how it's looking now. A little warm-up sky, mostly made with French ultramarine blue and a little speck of burnt umber. I got the clouds by pressing dry tissue paper into the wet paint, and I've just added some ground. I'm going to make more of that in a second. I just want things to dry off a little bit more there. And then I used my spray bottle to, you know, shoot colour across. So while I've got that, letting that dry for a moment, for those of you who are watching, how would you fancy a free 1-hour course on my academy? You can get it today and it's yours for life. Okay, so all you do is click the link in the description below. It'll say painting shiny spheres in watercolour, get a free course today. Click that link, you sign up for my newsletter, which is free, and then you get an automatic email to your inbox giving you login details for the course. So you can do that today with my compliments. This little course called Painting Shiny Spheres in Watercolour is a really good way to dip your toe into watercolour. I show you a basic technique that will, you know, give you the feel of watercolour and some instant success, and hopefully it'll introduce you to this lovely medium, you know, which has given me a lot of joy over the years. Okay, so click the link in the description of this video, this live video stream below, and let it take you and give you something to do if you are, you know, having to stay in wherever you live in the world. Okay, so back to my painting now. As I've been talking, it's drying a little bit. There's less moisture in there now. Okay, so I'm gonna, when I add colour now, it's not going to bleed so far. So I'm going to go in and start darkening this foreground, and I'm going to pick up some juicy burnt umber and mix it a little bit with a bit of French ultramarine blue there. And let's darken this foreground area now. The darker colours obviously will come forward, and this is a warm colour. Hiya Brandy, thanks for your messages earlier. I did see them, but as you can imagine, I was busy having a nervous breakdown trying to work out how to get live, so I appreciate your comments. I'm glad to see you here now. Okay, how are things with you? I can see you've been busy crafting and doing lots of different courses. Okay, so I'm going to go for some very strong pigmented now burnt umber, so that I can paint over and overlap the base of the sky, and this is just suggestion of some land. This is very rough and this is a very quick sketch, but I want to show you how you can put depth into a painting by stronger colours and warmer colours in the foreground, and by adding some harder edges to them as well. So you can use, you know, already by putting this brown in, we've pushed the sort of blurry land mass backwards a bit, haven't we? So then by bringing probably this is bleeding a bit, so I don't mind that, but by bringing this forward again, by maybe adding some cadmium red deep, which is a much warmer colour, yeah, we're going to bring the eye in even further now. Brandy, I bet your little boy's really enjoying having you home, isn't he, and doing projects with you. That's really good that you're working together in a crafty way. There's nothing lovelier, is there? So I'm just painting this much warmer mass in now. And then what's useful is a credit card or a piece of plastic. Okay, and we can sort of scrape in some detail and start maybe trying to add some an idea of rocks or something close in, which will bring this plane here in front of that one there, and also in front of that very misty fine one which is beyond. Okay, so I'm gonna work on that idea just to show you how you can put foreground in. Alright, now I'll say that the light is coming from the right, so I'm going to put shadow on the right hand. Sorry, the light is coming from the left, so I'm going to put shadow on the right hand side of these rocks. Okay, and now we've got a little bit of something going on in the foreground, a little bit of activity in the foreground. So let me just add some more darkness into these into these rocks here now. So again, I'm going to use some burnt umber and some French ultramarine blue to give a real nice strong shadow there. Okay. Also, if anybody's watching and you really want something nice and arty to read, I write a magazine called the Potter and Artist magazine, and I write it really for myself. It's sort of part diary, part how-to, and part sort of memoir. And if you're interested, all the copies, you can either get them as instant PDF downloads or ebooks, or you can get them as these lovely hard copy magazines, and the quality is really lovely on them. I write this every quarter, and just to give you an example of one, there's no advertising in it, it's just full of tutorials and all art processes and art thoughts, and I encourage you to follow your sort of artistic impulses and the inner artist in yourself, and to just, be the artist that you want to be. So that's my little art journal, and the links to these are in this sort of text of this video below. Okay, right, so from a distance now, I'm just going to mop up some of these darker passages, and then focus on some stronger shadows, because I want to get this feeling of a rock idea. So I want to make this rock here jut out a little bit more, so I'm bringing it up a bit higher. Okay, so it overlaps the sky a lot. Thanks, Brandy. I know you get the magazine, and I know you've bought every single issue, and it really is lovely to hear, how you enjoy it, because I just want people to, be the artist they want to be. And I think a lot of times we see magazines and books and all the images are so perfect that you feel a bit intimidated in just trying to do your own wiggly drawings and things. So that's why I did it, is to show people the process, and not everything turns out well, but just playing is the main thing. I think being able to play gives you joy, and it gives you ideas to explore, which I think is really important. Yeah, and most people like the physical magazine, the actual magazine that you hold in your hand, because it's really nice quality. It's gorgeous. It's got gorgeous production on it. It is a little bit pricey, but as it's only once every 4 months, I think we can treat ourselves to it if we want to. So now what I've got, let me zoom in on this one now. So I've got a blustery sky over, looks like a sort of a moorland area in the United Kingdom, something like that, with the sort of foreground rocks. And what I'm going to do now is drag up some vegetation, maybe some grasses, things like that, and again purposely make them overlap the sky so that it really brings us into the foreground, you know. So I'm going to curve some of them, make them a bit more gentle there. And then I feel I want to add some purple colour, because I feel there could be some heather in there. So I'm going to add a beautiful rose of ultramarine colour, this colour here. It's not picking up so well on the camera, but it's a deep, lovely, elegant purple. So let's have a few speckles of that. Yes, I like that. Can you see it? It's in the light, it's not so easy to see, but it's a lovely heather coloured purple. I'm just going to pop some speckles of it in the foreground now. Okay. So for all the people who are watching, I'm Alison Fennell, the potter and artist. I'm here to help you on your watercolour journey. I'm a patient and slow tutor, and in the links in the description below you can find out more about courses that I've got, and also I've got about 100 videos on YouTube that are free, and you can help yourself to those and get the feel of my teaching style. And I hope that each video you watch will help you on your watercolour way. If you want to contact me about anything watercolour, my email is in the description below as well. I'd love to hear what your watercolour journey is, and how you think, you know, you might want to go forward, and if you're struggling, get in touch with me there. I'm also on Facebook as the Pottering Artist. Okay, so I'm just going to wind up this live stream now, but I just want to recap on the things that I've chatted about. This has been a test live stream actually, so I've done a little bit of all sorts of things. That was a basic, you know, big sky idea and a bit of a foreground in there in watercolour. The paper I was using is this gorgeous Two Rivers handmade paper. It's 100% cotton, and it's made by Two Rivers in England, United Kingdom. It's really tough, and this is very thick, and you don't actually need to stretch it very much, and like most watercolour papers that you do need to stretch. Right, let me find my little samples that I did. So earlier on I discussed thanks Randy, thanks for watching, and I hope it's given you something. When I come back again, I'm going to do sort of a full tutorial from start to finish. This has just been a test to see what my sound and my image quality has been like. So thanks for watching. So I talked about painting wet into wet, where we wet the paper first, then drop some wet colour in, and you get a soft edge. Then I talked about painting wet onto dry, where you just mix up some paint and paint it on dry paper. And thanks Jenny, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and yes, I'm going to come back with a sort of full tutorial and more, you know, sort of meat on it so people can paint along. Okay, so thanks Brandy. Oh, I'm glad this has inspired you to get back to the Loving the Lay of the Land course. I'm glad it's done that for you. And you take care now. Thanks for watching, okay? Thank you, Brandy. I'll see you on Facebook anyway, okay? Then also I discussed how to soften an edge, where you paint some paint on and then you soften it by coming into it with a slightly moist brush. That's how we blend in watercolour. Then the other thing I talked about was lifting out colour with a thirsty brush, which is when you paint some colour on, and if you wanted to lift out a highlight, you have to moisten a brush and dry it on a flannel, on a piece of terry toweling, and then lift out the colour like that. Okay, so ways of handling watercolour, the most fundamental ways which you're going to need to learn at some point or another in order to get good with watercolour. So I'm Alison Fennell, the potter and artist. Teaching watercolour is my mission, and to help you is my sort of aim. If you want to find me, I'm at thepotteryartist.co.uk. That's my main website, which has got everything on there, free videos, pay-in courses, my magazine, etc, etc. And so before I go, don't forget my gift to you today is this lovely free little course. It's only an hour's course. It's actually on my academy. You get it by just signing up for my newsletter, which is in the link in the description of the video below. You sign up to that, and then you get an automatic link comes to your inbox where you sign up on the course, which is free, and you can access it today. So if you want to do it today, get it now. Then you can go back to it at any time, right? It'll be there. You'll be able to log in to the academy anytime and go back and study this little painting spheres watercolor course. Okay, so while I'm here, if anybody's got any questions about watercolor, or has anybody got anything they want to ask about how they progress with watercolor, if they want any questions answered by me, I'll just sit here for a little minute and give you all a chance. If you want to ask anything, ask away. Okay, because I'm going to sit here for a few minutes now, and then I'll be signing off. So thanks, Francoise, for watching. Thanks, Jenny and Randy and Brandy. And whoever else is watching who hasn't made a comment, I thank you for watching. And hope you're all doing okay in this lockdown situation wherever you're living in the world. So I'll just wait here now, because I know there's a little bit of a time lag in between what I'm saying and what you're receiving. So I'll just wait a little while in case anybody wants to ask any questions. Okay, and I'll just get this back on screen for people if they're interested. So Jenny, right, you're 2 months in to your watercolour journey. Well, you're a real beginner then. That's really lovely. I envy you in a way, being on the beginning of your watercolour journey. And so you practice every day, which is really good. Even if you just, do a quarter of an hour or something, you're going to be doing the right thing, Jenny, if you just put paint to paper and allow yourself to play, right? So that you get the feel of how the watercolour acts on dry paper, how it acts on wet paper. Simple things like just doodles and blots and blurts are really good for a good while, a few weeks or so before you start trying to learn some specific technique or other. And maybe what I'd suggest to you, Jenny, is that you just do just that. Just say, right, I'm going to just look at one technique for a while, for a period of time. You decide the period of time, and don't let yourself get overwhelmed. If you were learning to, say, play a guitar or something, you wouldn't sit down and try and play a complex tune straight away, would you? But painters tend to do that. As beginner painters, we think, right, I'm going to paint a landscape, and you've only been painting for like a week or something, and it's just a big ask. It's too big an ask. So if you pretend you were a musician and just say, right, I'm going to learn the equivalent of my watercolour scales today, because on a guitar you'd learn your scales or your chords or whatever. You wouldn't try and do a huge complex piece straight away. So allow yourself little steps as a watercolour artist is what I'd say. Allow yourself the chance to get to love it, and be playful with it before you start putting your nose to the grindstone and learning more tricky techniques and stuff like that. I often think of, say, if you're learning to do a dance, a particular dance, say a tango, if you went to a dance class, the dance instructor wouldn't expect you to all suddenly get up and have a go of dancing a tango. What they do is they break down each series of steps, wouldn't they, in the dance. And so as a watercolour tutor, that's what I do on my courses, is I break down all the steps of a technique for you. And I go slowly and I explain exactly the moisture, I explain the mixture dilution and consistency, and I explain how long you need to wait or not before you put paint to paper. So when I explain watercolour, I explain the timing, I explain the conditions, and I explain the approach. Okay, so I'm a teacher at heart. I'm a trained teacher, and I'm also a professional watercolour artist. So I've got, you know, the sort of two sides going. Plus, I'm self-taught. I didn't actually go to art school or anything, so I've learnt all this over the last 25 years on my own through the pure love of watercolour. Okay, so I'm on your side when you're learning as well. I'm very sort of gentle when I do a critique. If you send work in, if you're on one of my courses, I have critiques. Well, I don't call them critiques, I just call them creative suggestions. Okay, so I support you in your learning, and I'm on your side. Know that you'll have a gentle tutor in me. Okay, because I know how hard it is when you're beginning on something. We all need all the encouragement that we can get, and that's my job, to do that for you. So as I'm sitting here now waiting for anybody who wants to ask a question, I'm just cleaning my brushes down, wiping my palette down, and getting everything tidy and looking after my brushes so that it'll be right for the next session. One thing I'd say is, if you can see my palette now, is I'm going to wipe the colour off the palette, because if I leave it on, it will stain. So it's best to sort of wipe all the dark, especially the dark colours, they stain a lot. So I'm going to get all of this off now and clean it all down. This is a lovely palette. I've had it 25 years, believe it or not. It's a Frank Webb palette. I bought it from Cheap Joe's, from Boone, North Carolina. I didn't go there myself. I had it sent to me, and it's been my friend for 25 years. And it's got a lid, so the paint in here stays moist for a very long time. You hardly get any mould growing on there at all, because if you buy professional artist paints, they don't tend to get mould growing on them, but most of them don't get mould. Some of them do, and I just wipe the mould away with a little cotton wool bud, and I always use a spray bottle and give them a little squirt of water about 3 times a week, so that I keep the paint moist, and I have the lid on whenever the palette is not in use, so that all the paints stay in good shape and they're ready for me when I want to paint again. So I'm going to log off now, everybody. Thanks for watching, and this is available as a rewind. You know, it'll be on YouTube in a minute when I've come off here, so you can watch it again if you want to. It was a test live stream because I've had a bit of trouble the last few weeks, so I think I've got it sorted now, and I'll be doing a live stream again. So if you'd like to know when the live streams come on, subscribe to my channel by clicking the red subscribe button, and also click the grey bell when prompted so that you get all alerts. If you don't click the grey bell, you won't get all the alerts when I'm going to be on, okay? So thank you everybody, and I shall be signing off now, and thanks for watching. Bye for now.